Let's add the rest of our dimensions to our figure. Let's add the radius. So click on your linear dimension, the arrow next to it, and go down to radius. And click on the radius. And then pull it out and click. Now let's add the diameter. Click on the circle, pull it out, and click. Alright, and again, these don't really match what the ASME style says dimensions should look like, but we'll fix that. Alright, let's add the angle. So click on angular, and then click on the horizontal bottom line and the angled line, and then pull it out and click. Alright, the only two things that we have, well, no, actually just one thing left that we have to dimension is the chamfer. So we do that with a leader line. Alright, so up here we have a leader panel, and we're going to dimension the chamfer using the leader. So go ahead and click on leader. We want the leader line to start at the midpoint of the chamfer, so type in mid and select the chamfer, pull out and away and click. You'll notice that a tab or ribbon will appear, a text editor. We're going to select annotative and a height of 3 millimeters, and then type in 2 space X space 2, and then close the text editor. Alright, so we have all the dimensions that we need. Now we just need to get them to look right. So we're going to create a new dimension style. Alright, so if you look at the dimension panel, there's this little arrow here in the bottom left, and this allows you to change your dimension style. You could also type in the command dim style, but we'll just click on that arrow. So let's create a new dimension style. So we're going to start with the ISO 25, and we're going to create a new one, and we're going to call it ASME. So if the ISO 25 doesn't show up here, go ahead and select it, and we want to make it annotative and for use on all the dimensions. So we'll continue, and let's start with our symbols and arrows tab. So the first thing we want to change here is the center mark. Since we use the center mark command to create center marks for circles, we don't want the dimension creating center marks for us. And the arc length symbol we want above the text instead of preceding the dimension text. We don't have any arcs here in this figure, but for any upcoming drawings, if you have an arc, we want that to be the case. Alright, and the text tab. So we want the text placement to be centered, and we want it to be horizontal. So there we go. Then the fit tab, and we want to have the dimension, draw dimension lines between extension lines checkbox deselected, and make sure again that the annotative is checked. And then primary units. We want the precision to be 0 because we're in metric, and we want the decimal separator to be a period and not a comma. And then down here, 0 suppression. If you're in an inch drawing, you want to check this leading 0 suppression. In the standard, they don't want you putting a 0 preceding the decimal place if your value is less than an inch. But here we don't need to check that for metric. And then we're going to deselect the trailing 0. All right, so those are all the settings. And notice how the preview window changes and how it will look, our new dimension style. So go ahead and click OK and set current and then close. All right, so you can see none of our dimensions updated, but that's okay. We can tell AutoCAD to update our dimensions using this command right here, update. So we're going to click on that. We can choose individual dimensions to update, or we can just type in all and select all of them. So you can see all the dimensions are now, or all the text is horizontal. All the dimensions are between, or the dimension values are between the dimension lines. Everything looks like it should, except for one dimension, and that is this multi-leader. This didn't update because we also have to set the multi-leader properties. So we're going to do that next. All right, so let's create a new multi-leader style, and we'll do that by clicking on this little arrow, just like we did with the dimensions. So we'll click on that, and we get a multi-leader styles manager, and we're going to create a new one. And we're going to start with the standard. So we'll call this the ASME. We'll make it annotative. And we'll go continue. All right, so in the leader format tab, we're going to set the size of the arrows to 2.5 because 0.18 is a little small for millimeters. As you can see in the figure, you can't even see the arrow. And we'll do leader structure. And there we'll set the landing distance to 2.5 as well. All right. Now we'll go to the content. So here we can set what kind of content we have for our leader. You can see we can do a block or none, but we're just doing text for this. And we're going to set the right attachment to be middle top line. And then the landing gap to be 2 millimeters. And we'll go OK. And set current and close. All right, so let's try to update the multi-leader. And we don't want to update all, we just want to update this guy. And we'll hit enter. And notice that the multi-leader does not update. So that's one thing that we cannot update. So we're just going to delete it and redraw it. And notice that the current style is indicated here in this window. We could pull it down and go back to the standard or ASME. The same with the dimension. We have the ASME, the ISO 25, so you can select your style on which dimension or multi-leader you want to create. All right, so we'll click multi-leader. Again, we'll do mid and midpoint. And everything is here. We'll do annotative. It's 3, so 2 space capital X space 2 and close editor. All right, so that multi-leader looks much better. All right, in the next video, we're going to start talking about what are these annotative objects.